And just like that, we are back. Well, most of us. It's the Views from Section 400 podcast. It's Brian and it's Jack. Matt's out today. It's the final sips down in Philly happy hour. The summer's coming to a close. You guys probably know that because we are almost through our divisional previews. Today we got the NFC South for you. I know we're super excited about this division. But before we get to that, we have our winners and losers, and then we'll finish off with some college football talk because college football is back. And the one place you can go to get some tickets to see those college football games is SeatGeek. Ladies and gentlemen, it's tough to say, but the summer is almost over. With the 80-degree weather and sunny days coming to an end, there's no better time than now to head over to SeatGeek. Whether you want to get to a ball game up in Section 400 this summer, check out an outdoor concert before the weather turns to rain and snow, or go to a football game, yep, those are happening in August, SeatGeek is the premier ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. All of you up in Section 400 can get $20 off your first ticket purchase with code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout. Again, that's code VIEWSFROM400 for $20 off your first purchase at checkout. You can click the link in the description of the show to download the app, go to your favorite event, use our code, $20 off. And now, winners and losers. All right, like I said, winners and losers this week. Just two of us. So, Jack, I'll hand it off to you. Give me your winner of the week.
Yeah, so my winner of the week is actually going to be Bo Nix, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Man got his starting job officially in Denver. Sean Payton, I was going to say he signed the deal, but it's not like you're doing that. He just named him the starter. Above Jarrett Stidham and above, I always forget, but it's Zach Wilson.
I think you're just trying to block him out of your brain at this point.
Honestly, with what I saw, no, honestly, I actually have a little bit of faith in Zach Wilson's physical abilities. As we were talking about on the other podcast, it's just the NFL game is fast, and he has not proven the ability to break down and comprehend and make good decisions in this fast-paced NFL game. But that's something that can come with time. So, if the perfect time comes where he's got an opportunity to play and he finally comes along on the mental part of the game and he still has the physical aspects, he could still be a good quarterback. I'm not completely ruling that out. But I'm not betting on it anytime soon, especially if our boy Bo Nix can take the starting job right here in Denver right now. He got selected 12th overall in this past draft, so you would expect that Sean Payton had a plan to use him and use him early. So I think just going to give him the win this week. Happy for Bo Nix, War Eagle.
War Eagle. Unfortunately, our other guy, Jarrett Stidham, that means he won't be starting. But, I mean, his job was Bo Nix's to lose ever since Sean Payton reached. I think we can say reached for him in the first round. And yeah.
I mean, you really think it was a reach per se, though?
Well, I guess not, because you can never say that for a quarterback. But he got his guy. I should say he drafted the guy he wanted. So Bo would have had to put up some really bad tape in this preseason for him not to start.
Yeah, he was also like I said, he was the 12th pick. That's not too far down the board. He was the 6th quarterback taken. I know it was a very receiver and quarterback friendly draft, especially at the very top. But 6 QBs taken. I mean, he was the 6th. 5 went before him. So I don't think it's necessarily a reach. He was kind of like the last guy left. And I could be wrong, but wasn't he the last quarterback taken in the first round?
Probably. Yeah. I don't even know who the next guy was.
That's what I was just trying to think of. I can't think of who the next quarterback actually taken was.
Yeah, because you had Milton Rattler and Jordan Travis, but he was late too. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know Jordan Travis was a 4th rounder. I can't say the same for the rest of the guys, but.
So, it was Rattler in the 5th, Jordan Travis in the 5th, Joe Milton in the 6th, Devin Leary in the 6th, and then Michael Pratt in the 7th.
Yeah, that took a while to get to. I was scrolling down the draft order. I'm like, I'm in round 4. I haven't found another quarterback yet. And it's not till round 5, like you said, when the Saints take Spencer Rattler. So, how about that? Yeah, we can't really call that a reach. I mean, you got the last guy that was, by draft metrics worth a damn.
Yeah, I guess not. And Bo Nix is now, I think, fourth in the Rookie of the Year odds behind the three big quarterbacks and then Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know if he should be ahead of Malik Neighbors, but maybe that says more about Daniel Jones than it does Malik Neighbors. But I mean, hey,
Interesting.
we already talked about the Broncos. We had some great takes from Chris Mano. If you haven't watched that episode, former Chiefs wide receiver, had some good stuff on the Broncos quarterback room. I just, I mean, like we said, War Eagle. I hope Bo Nix does well.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he does well. He certainly won this week. So let's see if he can go out there and win some games. My loser of the week is going to be Baker Mayfield. And we're going to talk about him plenty today in our NFC South preview. But, this just happened to be perfect timing, all worlds aligning. Yesterday, in an interview, Baker said, everyone wants to hate on the NFC South, but it's a competitive division. My brother, it might be competitive because you guys are all bottom five in the league. You know what I mean? The Saints have one of the worst rosters. The Carolina Panthers have one of the worst rosters. The Bucs, who we'll get into, have a pretty stout defense, have a couple playmakers on offense, but overall, they're not a great team. I know they're coming off of a playoff run last year where they actually, took down the Eagles in the playoffs. They were a spiraling Eagles team, but still, decent playoff run for the Bucs last year. But we're gonna get into it. They don't have a ton to work with on offense. And then, the last team in that division is Atlanta, who up to this point has been very bad. And I know everybody's expecting them to have a great season this year with all the additions on offense and defense. Uh, but at the end of the day, this division has been terrible. So yes, Baker, we all do want to hate on the NFC South because it's not a great division.
Yeah, that is a great piece of foreshadowing by you for our preview later on in this episode. But yeah, the NFC South is competitive in the same way the Nathan's hot dog eating contest without Joey Chestnut was competitive. I mean, there's guys that might win and they might do something successful, but it's not the best of the best. I mean, that's where we are with this division here. And maybe the Falcons change that. I mean, Kirk Cousins, I honestly almost put his practice playlist for his 36th birthday as my winner of the week, but I refrained myself. Get some bangers on there. So the vibes in Atlanta are at an all-time high. And we'll talk about that later. But yeah, this division is just, it's not good.
Yeah, it's not, and Baker wants to call it good, but stay tuned, everybody. We'll get into exactly what you can look forward to in this division, and why we're still going to appreciate it because it's some NFL football.
That it is, that it is. But yeah, I will stray away from football just for a second here. And my winner of the week is going to be, I think, millennials. Are we technically millennials or Gen Z? I know we're
Bro,
kind of in the middle.
don't be asking me that. I've never fit in any of the boxes.
Well, I'm just going to say people that were in high school around the same time we were in high school, so like the early 2010s. Backyard baseball is making a comeback. They released a Twitter video, had the Pete Wheeler, Pablo Sanchez, all the clowns back there in the treehouse. It's coming back, and I think it might be like a TV series too, but the game's coming back as well. It looks great. I haven't played it since I was a kid, but I will definitely, if I have to buy some kind of Windows computer, even if it's like a Chromebook for $50, I will just so I could play backyard baseball again.
I always used to call him Petey Wheeler. I guess I just didn't realize that Pete, like that's how you spell Pete. It's just Pete. But I always used to call him Petey Wheeler. So yeah, Petey Wheeler, Pablo Sanchez. Oh my gosh, two of the goats there. Backyard baseball was always. I didn't actually own it, so when I went over to like friends' houses and I got to play it, it was always like a treat for me. So I'm definitely excited for that to make a comeback. Much like the way NCAA did this year.
Yeah, it's the year of old games coming back, and I'm
I
all
guess
here
so.
for it. I also, this may have just been me misremembering, but I thought it was a little bit of a Mandela effect. Do you remember Pablo Sanchez in a wheelchair?
Like if you didn't, if you had asked me that, Like no, like the answer is no. But like now that you're saying that, like I feel like in his little icon picture, I can remember him having a wheelchair. But
right?
like when he didn't like run on the field like, with a wheelchair.
No, yeah, he was always standing, but I feel like when on the player selection screen, like he was sitting under Ken Griffey Jr. and all the goats, and he was in a wheelchair.
He may have been. I don't know, dude. That's a tough one. I think I'm trying to remember it one way or another, but I don't know. I'm not going to give you an answer.
Yeah, apparently he wasn't, and it was Tamaguchi's the wrong. I think I'm mixing it up with Tamagotchi, but there was another guy, another kid in a wheelchair, but I always just thought it was Pablo Sanchez, which I found out was
Oh,
not the case.
yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking of. I mean, yeah, I do remember there being like a wheelchair picture, like icon, but I didn't know if it was Pablo or not.
Yeah. But one last question while we're on this. Which I know I just mentioned Ken Griffey Jr. Which baseball player do you think is going to return in the game? Is it going to be a legend or is it going to be a current? Do we see Otani in backyard baseball?
I was gonna say, I feel like we would get some new guys in there. Why not? Why wouldn't we get Shohei?
Rose just had an appearance on the
Yeah, that was funny.
podcast.
Maybe we get Shohei. Maybe we get I always thought like Mike Trout would be like the perfect backyard baseball guy. Um,
Mike
but
Trout's a
like
good pull.
Mike Trout,
Maybe you
Bryce
need
Harper,
maybe you need
Bryce
to put
Harper,
Mike Trout
Aaron
in that
Judge,
wheelchair.
Aaron Judge. I mean, maybe Vlad Jr. Wasn't like OG Vlad in that game?
He was, yeah, without the batting gloves.
Yeah, so you could get Vlad Jr. in there. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I would definitely say you gotta get some new age guys in there though.
Yeah, that they definitely should. And I don't know how it's gonna look with the whole MLB the Show and trying to get the rights from that, or if they have to or anything. But either way, I'm excited for backyard baseball. I will get back to football for my loser of the week, but not NFL football. It's going to be flag football. So we've been super excited for this flag football returning in the Olympics. And you'd think a lot of these players that have helped grow the flag game would be excited too. But current quarterback for the U.S., Darnell Duchette, or Doucette, Darnell,
Douchebag. Yep.
the quarterback for the U.S. team, Darnell Doucette, or as you, I guess, like to call him, douchebag. He said he's better than Patrick Mahomes at flag football.
Yeah. I mean, he just came out the cut and said it like in an interview on his couch, bro. Like, did you see Patrick Mahomes' response on Twitter?
I did not.
He sent back the 50 Cent like, what he say fuck me for?
That's
He's
perfect.
like Melissa, like he fucked your first baby mama, Melissa, this and that. He's like, but what did he say fuck me for? I didn't do nothing. That's exactly how. I mean, that's exactly how you should respond to that. I mean, Mahomes just coming off a Super Bowl win. He's living life. He's getting ready for this season. Obviously, doing preseason and all that jazz. Looked incredible the other night when he played a few snaps against my Jags. He's just going to tear up every team he faces like he always does. I mean, it's simple as that. You can get him a couple times a season, and you just pray to God that one is in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs or the Super Bowl because he doesn't lose that often. So, say what you want, douchebag guy, whatever. But at the same time, like this man is king. His point was like, I've been playing the flag football game. I know a little bit more about how this works. I have the IQ. But give Mahomes like I don't know, a day to learn like the flag rules. Combine that with the what he's used to seeing like with coverages and shit like that. I mean, I don't know. Is it all man? I mean, if it's all man, like maybe we get Joe Burrow in there because that man throws like a dot, precision accuracy and everything. We don't even have to have Mahomes, but I'm just ranting at this point. Like this guy's just ridiculous. I can't believe we're talking about this. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback on planet Earth.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. He definitely saw the Noah Lyles, Tyreek Hill stuff, which I mean, that is fine. Like you're talking about pure speed. That's not, man, I'm not going to say it's not athleticism, but it's not a ball sport. It's just running fast. And Noah Lyles is probably better than Tyreek Hill. Definitely better than Tyreek Hill, at least in the 100 meter. If they do a 50-yard dash, that might get kind of interesting. But yeah, his football IQ, flag football IQ, like you said, it's probably just how he moves his hips to make sure the defenders don't touch his flags. And that would take Mahomes, what, 10 minutes of the first practice to be like, oh, I have to do this with my hips instead of be square. It doesn't make any sense. And it's just a bad look for this guy. I'm sure he'll probably make the team as like the fourth quarterback just to have him there as like a pity thing. But you're not going to be the starting quarterback for the United States. Just accept it.
Yeah.
I guess I feel bad for him. But yeah, that's the winners and losers of the week, presented by our survivor pool. All right, you heard Jack in the last podcast talk about it. If you didn't get into our fantasy football league, we are full. We're filled up in the 12-man, but we are running an NFL survivor pool. If you don't know the rules, it's real simple. You pick a team to win every week. It's not against the spread. It's just straight up. If they win, you move on to the next week. The caveat, you cannot pick the same team twice. So if you pick the Chiefs week one, they're done. You can't pick them again all season long. Whoever lasts the longest, like Jack did last season, he is the defending champion, wins the pot. It's going to be a $10 entry. The winner will also get a segment on the podcast. Get your bragging rights in. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to join, the details are on our social media. We'll drop them in the description as well. Join and try to beat us at our own game. We love talking football, and we want someone to prove us wrong. So hop in there and have some fun.
Shout out Mark Jackson for coming close last year, but your boy pulled it out.
Yeah, Mark Jackson's Giants are making me kind of nervous in that MLB playoff race. But we're talking football, and it's time for the NFC South Divisional preview. Yeah, this might be the worst team we have not only started a preview with, but we've just previewed in general. It's the Carolina Panthers, 2-15 last year. And I don't know about you, but I really don't want to spend much time talking about Carolina, especially because their quarterback went to Alabama.
Yeah,
But
I mean, they've been the league's worst team for 2 straight years. There's not much to say other than that.
yeah, they bring in Deontay Johnson and Dave Canales, of course, steal him from the Bucs. And then they do have Derek Brown, who set the record for most tackles by a defensive, uh, not just defensive tackle, but just pure defensive lineman last year. That doesn't include edge rushers, but just at four down defensive lineman. Derek Brown set the record. So War Eagle to that.
War Eagle, damn.
And because of that, you can argue he's their best player. So I'm interested heading into year two with Bryce Brown. Auburn's on my mind with Bryce Young. And then obviously Deontay Johnson there now. They still have Adam Thielen, who's kicking around at like 40 years old. Draft Jonathan Brooks for the backfield. But is Derek Brown the best player on this team?
Yes. I mean, off the rip, there's not an offensive player you can name me that's better. Um, they did spend a first round pick on a big tackle last year or 2 years ago. Last year, they spent a first round pick on a tackle. I don't know how he's panning out. I can't think of his name, so that probably tell you. But no, to answer your question, it's got to be Derek Brown. I know they also had J.C. Horn back there playing corner for them. He was a standout to start his career. I don't know how he's fared since. I think he was hurt most of last year. But yes, Derek Brown's got to be the best player on the team.
He might take a tiny dip in production this year just because the Giants, my Giants, actually stole Brian Burns from him for a third or fourth round pick. Either way, it was very. All right. Well, my brain's not working. I can't think of the right word. I've been up at 4 a.m. the past 3 days this week. But either way, the Giants got Brian Burns for basically a bag of peanuts from the Carolina Panthers. I'm excited about that, especially I didn't know his nickname was Spider-Man. So he returns to New York. So that, I mean, that's just a merchandise cash cow for the New York Giants. We'll see if they take advantage of it. But yeah, I guess the answer is Derek Brown.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
I'll just keep running through these rapid fire questions because I want to just get done with this team as quickly as possible. It just hurts my brain to look at the Carolina Panthers at this point. But
Sure.
Charlotte is the home to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. While the Panthers running backs aren't speedy enough or really good enough to warrant Hall of Fame or even star consideration, they do have Jonathan Brooks there. They bring back Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders. I think Raheem Blackshear is also on the roster. So they got some guys. I mean, just in terms of a guy off, just to name some guys with the boys athletes, they got guys. So which one's going to lead the backfield this year?
So you've got they drafted Jonathan Brooks, who was the first running back off the board in this draft. Very explosive player in college. He projects to be the number one option as soon as he's healthy. He suffered an ACL tear last year that ended his college career, but as soon as he's healthy and back, he's going to be banging for these Carolina Panthers. I don't know when we can expect that because you got to think about it. If you have Chuba Hubbard and you have Miles Sanders, two veteran backs at this point, let them take the work. You're not playing for much if you're the Carolina Panthers this year. Why rush your rookie star running back? I say star running back, hasn't taken a snap in the NFL yet, but your projected star running back, why would you why would you try to ramp him up too early? Let him rest, get his time, make sure he's fully healthy before making his entrance into the NFL. So for that reason, if I was Dave Canales, if I was, whoever the GM over there is there in Carolina, um, I'm sitting Brooks until he's fully ready. And like I said, he just had an ACL tear less than 12 months ago. So I'm going to guess it's Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, that's what I would think too, which doesn't really get me excited at all. But
No,
maybe in fantasy football, I'll use like a 17th round pick to get a couple weeks out of Chuba Hubbard and hope he scores a touchdown every other week.
yeah.
Yeah, my next question for you, I was gonna start it with Michael Jordan won the championship for North Carolina, but considering Jesse Winker just hit a walk-off home run for the Mets off of Sir Anthony Dominguez, I'm gonna say Jesse Winker won a game for the New York Mets off of Sir Anthony Dominguez today. Is there anybody from the Tar Heel State that could help you win a fantasy championship this season?
Gosh. Is there anybody from the Carolina Panthers that can help me?
Yeah, I guess I could have not. Yeah, or
No.
North Carolina native if you know one off the top of your head.
Oh gosh, yeah, that would be a better help, honestly. But is there anybody on the Panthers who I could recommend taking in a fantasy draft this year? The answer is going to be off the rip, no. Um, the only person I can recommend taking is, like we just talked about, Jonathan Brooks. If you want to take him late, stash him on your IR until he's, back healthy and playing. He could be, an extremely explosive player that absolutely dominates the second half of the year. We just don't know. We haven't seen it yet. So I could say him. Um, the guy you mentioned earlier, Deontay Johnson, was a 10 receptions per game kind of guy in Pittsburgh for the first few years of his career. You would think that that's the same sort of rapport that he's going to develop with Bryce Young in Carolina. Short average depth of target, a lot of receptions near the line of scrimmage, just a high volume kind of guy. So in a PPR league, yeah, he could help you out. Solid floor.
Yeah, again,
The,
Deontay Johnson doesn't get me excited, but he's going to get a
no,
lot of targets.
and the problem is because this offense sucks, and they're not going to be scoring all that many points. So, the upside is limited. When you got the Chiefs scoring 35 points a game, any player on their team could be, have a chance at a touchdown and be a worthwhile start. You're on the Carolina Panthers, who probably didn't average 20 points a game last year. You're looking at 1 to 2 touchdowns a game. So there's a lot less points, just coming through the team.
Yeah, and listen, if you're a Panthers fan, this hate is warranted. Bryce Young finished with under 3,000 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 10 picks last year. He was the QB 44 in fantasy football. There are 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and he finished 44th.
Yeah, the only way that this ship gets right, the only way that this goes right this year is if Dave Canales comes in and is just him. You know what I mean? Like comes in like a Sean McVay and is just him. That's the only way that Bryce Young and these Carolina Panthers are worth half a bag of shit this year. That was mean, but it's true.
every Panthers fan that clicked on this podcast or has been listening to this podcast has clicked off by now. So I think it's free game to just shit on
Hey,
this team however you like.
I know I'm a Jags fan, but I'm in Carolina. I'm just calling it how I see it.
Well, I'm happy you brought up they're not worth a bag of shit, but are they worth a cookout tray? Cookout, of course, originated in North Carolina, and they're known for their trays around $5.50. Over under is 5.5 wins. Over under.
Under. They have one of the worst rosters in the NFL. You got a new coach coming in. It just nothing is adding up to them for them.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think they're not going to go 2-15 again, but I think a 4-13, 5-12 type season is staring them right down the throat. And I think, by the way, they are a higher overall in Madden than my New York Giants. Which I mean, I know the Giants aren't exactly a good team, but come on now.
Yeah, I don't really know what pieces you look at to say, you know what? Yes, I do. Because dude, you got to think about this. You got to think about Madden. Okay, who do the Giants have on offense that's going to be even over like an 80 overall? Malik Neighbors. That's it.
Yeah, he's probably like a 76.
And then
Mark,
you got to look over, and then you got to look over at the Panthers offense, and like Deontay, he's got to be an 80. They've always loved Adam Thielen in like the video games. They always like certain kinds of players in the video games. They love an Adam Thielen. Yeah, I'm sure he has a decent overall. Bryce Young was the first round pick, even though he was bad last year. He probably has a decent overall. Jonathan Brooks, first running back taken off the board this year, probably has a decent overall. I mean,
they're an 80. That's higher than the Cardinals, too.
that's a problem
That's a big
because
problem.
yeah, that's just well, the Cardinals defense is buns.
That's true. Okay, so Derek Brown, our guy, is a 90 overall in Madden.
Bro is in the 90 club?
He's in the
Hell
90
yeah.
club.
Shout out Big Derek Brown.
Then they got J.C. Horn at an 86 and Jadeveon
Okay, makes
Clowney,
sense.
who's there now at an 84.
Okay. Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney's another one, probably a little bit too high in overall at this point in his career, but he's just one of those guys that I'm sure Madden just loves.
Yeah. Yeah. Your guy, Adam Thielen's an 82. So they got guys. And I guess that's more guys than the Giants have.
Yeah, I mean it's in a game like Madden, it's all about name value. Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, they're not Jamar Chase, but they're sure shit better than like I hate to say it, but like Darius Slayton and like I don't even know who else they got. Wandale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Like, like
Wandale.
look, think about that. Like the Giants, I just named like the Giants like four receivers, like Malik Neighbors, Jalen Hyatt, Wandale Robinson, and Darius Slayton. You want to look at the Panthers four, and they're not great, but like we talked about Thielen and Deontay Johnson. The other two are rookies in their own right. Like Xavier Legette, they just drafted this year out of South Carolina. He could be something. Uh, he was taken in the first round, this year. And then last year they took
Mingo.
Jonathan Mingo out of Ole Miss. And I mean, he was a boss in college, but he hasn't done anything in the NFL yet. So, but either way, I'm taking all four of those guys. All four of those guys. Yeah, outside of Neighbors, Neighbors is a beast, but that's why, man. That's why your Giants are getting no love.
Yeah, it's tough. I think they're the worst overall in Madden this year, which again, we're going to talk about more when we get to the NFC East preview. And I just have to listen to Matt yell at me for an hour.
Yeah, Daniel Jones and Devin Singletary will do it too.
Hey, Tyrone Taylor, sleeper this year. You want to talk some Bucks?
Hey, let's talk some Bucs football. They let Dave Canales get out of the room, which was we'll see how that turns out for them. But he was probably the reason that they were a playoff team last year. I mean, everyone was down on them because of Baker Mayfield. Didn't have a lot of faith in him, but look at the turnaround he had last season with Canales as the OC. This year, what do they do in the off season? They had the pickup Jordan Whitehead to add to their secondary with Antoine Winfield Jr. So, wait, he's the senior, right? Antoine Winfield Senior.
I think he is a senior. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't he a senior, not a junior? Yeah. Anyway, so they have a pretty good secondary back there.
There's two.
Uh,
He is a junior. There's Antoine Winfield Sr., who was his dad that played before.
okay, I thought you know what's funny is I know that he has a dad that played before him, but I thought that when he came into the league, he came in as a junior and he's already had a kid, and now he made himself senior again.
That could be it. On Google,
Yeah,
at least, he's listed as a junior. I'm not looking at the official Bucs depth chart.
fuck it. I mean, that's a rabbit hole. Let's move on. Um, Also, I don't know if you saw this. They signed Sal Cannella just a
They
few weeks
did.
ago.
Yeah, I wrote about it
War
for
Eagle.
Shout Out Auburn Wire. War Eagle.
War Eagle. But they also had they lost a couple key pieces. I mean, Shaq Barrett, big pass rusher for them. Devin White, arguably the best coverage linebacker over the past 5 years or so. I mean, I know he sort of fell off. He's fallen off at times. He's dealt with injuries, but he's with the Eagles now. I truly believe he's still an elite linebacker. And just one more for Howie and Matt. Fuck them, but.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. And Matt complains about like the Dodgers and baseball all the time. And I'm gonna yell at him because he's not here to defend himself. But the Eagles have become that of just drafting these, not draft, just signing these veteran guys and just plugging holes. And then of course Saquon Barkley, which
And of course, it always fucking works. And I look
yep,
at the Jaguars and every other team in the NFL. It's like, what are you? Why are you not doing this?
it's
Must be
unbelievable.
nice.
Must
Must
be
be
nice.
nice. Yeah. Well, hopefully we can just count on another fold like they had last year, but we'll see. Anyway, back to the Bucs. Um, they also lost Carlton Davis, War
War Eagle.
Eagle, cornerback, and they had there's their center retired, Ryan Jensen, or maybe he was a guard. But
I think he was the center. He had some interview about Tom Brady's hands forever ago. It was like a really strange interview.
yeah, it sounds like a strange interview. Anyway, he retired, so that's tough for them. So offensive line got a little bit weaker. Defense, lost some people here and there, but overall, top to bottom, this defense is still what they're going to be riding. I mean, Todd Bowles is the head coach of this team. He's a defensive guy, and they're going to do the same thing they did last year. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rashad White, Baker Mayfield. That's the whole offense. They got Kate Otten as their tight end coming into year two. We'll see if he can, or not
I
year
think
two,
I think he's on year three. He might be
maybe
on year
year three.
four. It's felt like he's been a rookie for like 3 years now.
Three, three. He's going into year three. I want to put my
Okay.
shovel in the ground on that one. Um, but anyway, we'll see if he could take another step up. Tight ends can take a little while to come along. What is it for? Is it year four,
It's
Brian?
three. It's three.
It's year three.
It's
Okay,
year
the way
three.
you were looking at me, I thought you were gonna say four, but anyway. They got some pieces, but overall they're gonna be leaning on their defense, trying to manage the clock. That's what Todd Bowles does. So, any initial thoughts, Brian, or you want me to get into these questions?
Does it count as a revenge game every time Baker plays the Panthers? I know he basically played scout team defensive end for them.
No, no. I think revenge game for Baker is against the Browns and the Browns only. He didn't spend enough time in Carolina. He didn't spend enough time in LA with the Rams. It's only
Which
it's only it's only the Browns
that
for him.
that Ram stint by Baker might be the craziest football, like modern football story ever. What he got
Oh,
there on like
2000.
Tuesday night and then he started the
Yeah,
game on Thursday.
yeah. It was legendary, and he killed it. He won.
He won himself a Bucks job and now he just got paid. Like, good for Baker, man.
Shout out Baker. All right, let's get into these 5 questions. These rapid questions. Uh, Personally, I think the Bucs are a shoo-in for the two seed in this division. If they're not, if they end up going to 1 or 3 or 4, which one do you think is more likely that they drop down in the rankings or they go back to back and retake the South?
Ooh, that's tough because the Saints are always going to be around 500. So if the Bucks have a couple things go wrong, they'll finish third. But the Falcons are the Falcons. 28-3, huge choke artists. I'm a Kirk Cousins truther. I've defended him multiple times on this podcast, but they're the Falcons.
So you think, if anything, it'd be, the Bucs could take the division again?
Yeah, I mean the Bucks are always a decent bet to finish around 500, and if the teams in this division, which they always do, underperform, they're going to be right there.
Gotcha. I'm going to go the other way. I think it's more likely for them to finish third in the division than it is for them to finish first. And maybe that's because I have a little bit more faith in Atlanta to get the job done. And maybe it's because I just have a little bit less faith in the Bucs overall. But
Yeah,
we'll see what.
it's one of those things where like everybody's on the Falcons, and rightfully so, right? But they haven't won the division since 2016. So can we really just crown them?
You know, I think it's I think it's more about they crown themselves, Brian. I think when you go out there and get Kirk Cousins, get Matthew Judon, get Justin Simmons. I mean, I think that's the recipe right there, bro. Like, what did the Saints do? What did the Bucs do? Like I just told you, like the Bucs added Sal Cannella, who I love, but he's a backup third, fourth string tight end. Jordan Whitehead, good safety, but it's not Derwin James. It's not Justin Simmons. So I think that the Falcons crown themselves.
You're thinking of Antoine Winfield. He was a junior that turned into senior.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's it. It was who we looked up. You said Jordan Whitehead, and yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I think you just had a brain fart right
yeah.
there.
Like I
But
said, I've been up at 4 a.m. every day this week.
well, I will quit my babbling, and I'll just say that I just think that I mean, and we'll get to the Falcons later on in this preview, but they've set themselves up for you know imminent success, inevitable success.
Yeah, I guess so. And we'll see if the Bucks have their version of Iron Man.
All right. So I also was talking about their offense already. Last year, it was Mike Evans, it was Chris Godwin, it was Rashad White. This year, it looks like the same. But if there's a fourth weapon to emerge, who's it going to be?
I guess Cade Otton. Didn't they draft a receiver? Who was the guy that scored on his birthday like three times? And he always woke up. We talked about this last season. Like on his birthday every year, he woke up pissed and then he scored a touchdown. I think he scored one against the Lions in the playoffs.
Oh, who was that? Like Olamia Zacchaeus?
I want to say Palmer, but I don't think it's Trey Palmer. But he's tweeted like every year on his birthday that he woke up pissed and then he scores a touchdown.
Yeah, Trey Palmer might be right.
It might be Trey Palmer. Wait, they signed Sterling Shepard? Huh.
The Bucks did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just another wash Giants receiver. I don't know what that's worth, but
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do much of anything. They also, is this who I'm
they
thinking? Yeah,
drafted.
our guy
They
Jalen McMillan.
drafted. Yeah, they drafted. Oh, that's who it was, Jalen McMillan. I knew they took a receiver in like what was it, third round?
Yep, third round, pick 92. So yeah, maybe him. I mean, he's a good deep threat
Jalen.
kind of guy.
Where he go to school?
Our future bet, our team.
Oh, he was a Washington Husky.
Yeah, he just got overshadowed by Polk and
Oh,
Jerome.
yeah, that's right. He was number 3 in there.
I think he had a touchdown. He might have had two touchdowns in that semifinal game.
Yeah, what a beast.
And we'll have to wait for that jersey swap between him and Penix. And that'll be a podcast thumbnail at some point.
Pretty cool that they got, matched up together there. I bet I bet as happy as Rome is in Chicago with Caleb Williams and being like a top pick like that. I bet he was. I bet he wishes he was with the boys in Atlanta, and maybe we'll see that down the road.
Yeah, imagine being Jalen Polk up in New England.
He's got to be fucking punching the air right now, dude. All right, next question. 10 straight 1,000-yard seasons for Mike Evans. Going into year 11, does he do it again?
Yep, he's a Hall of Famer. It's automatic every year.
I will ride it. He's just one of those guys. He's different, you know. Just ride the train until it crashes. Just do it.
Yep.
Um, so my last question, kind of funny. I just wrote Cade Otton. Sort of how you just answered my question earlier. You said Cade Otton. That's kind of what my question was right here. Cade Otton, how do we feel about him? Because like I said, he's coming into, year three. He was there. His rookie year was when Brady was there, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was I remember him like shooting up in like fantasy drafts because he was, the rookie tight end being matched with Tom Brady. They didn't have a tight end there. It was like, could this be the next Gronk for the 1 year that it matters? But um, that didn't really pan out. That was Brady's last year, which wasn't too prolific, I guess you could say. It was the year before that they won the Super Bowl. And ever since, I mean, they've had Baker and other questionable quarterback play. So I don't feel like it might not be him, but what do you expect from him this year?
About the same. He was on a good trajectory, like you said, with Brady. I had him rostered in a couple fantasy leagues that year. And I forget what exactly the situation was, but I think it was like a 3rd and 10. And it might have been in the playoffs, maybe not, but they needed him to catch a pass in a tight window, and he couldn't come down with it. And ever since then, he hasn't, I don't know if he lost his confidence, probably not just off of one play, but he just hasn't really been the same.
Last question. They're over under set at 7.5. They getting it? Eight
Yeah,
wins?
yeah, either 8-9 or 9-8. It's what the Bucs do. It's what Todd Bowles does.
Man, I keep on going back and forth on this line, and it's because I think about their team last year. To start the year last year, they were really, really bad. Like their offense couldn't do anything. Their defense was like keeping them in games, but not do, like their offense just couldn't do enough. And then I think about them like the second half of the season, and their defense was really good, but still like their offense was like barely doing enough to hold on to leads and win games. And I just think that without Canales there this year, without any real improvements to that offense, I think it takes a step back. If you don't get better, you take a step back because everybody else gets better. So I just, man, 7.5 is a low line for me. If this was 8.5 or 9.5 would be way too high. But if this was at 8.5, I would easily take the under. I'm still going to take the under, but I feel a little less good about it. 6 games it's really not a lot.
Yeah, it's tough too because the over 7.5 is so juiced at 150. But I think they win 8 or 9 games. So I'm not confident enough to put the over 8.5. But I don't know. 8 and 9 seems pretty likely.
Yeah. I mean, especially coming off 9-8 season, you don't expect them to go from 9-8 to 6-11, do you?
No,
No, probably not. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should be taking the over on this, but yeah, I'm taking the under. Fuck it.
all right. Well, we gotta differ a little bit because we both were all over the Panthers under.
I think most of America is, Brian.
You're not wrong there. All right, from one mediocre team to the next mediocre team in this division, the New Orleans Saints. Um, Derek Carr
Derek Carr
over under 7.5 wins.
under
Under.
again. You don't make any improvements. You're only getting worse. I cannot tell you a single impactful thing they did. I know they added Chase Young to that defensive line, but that wasn't the issue last year. The issue was the offense, and I still have zero interest in watching this offense. Derek Carr still has nothing working for him. He's still going to check down to Alvin Kamara, who's just another year older, 15 times a game. Chris Olave is just going to stand wide open in the end zone, unable for Derek Carr to get a pass off to him. Just nothing I like about this. It's awful.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara, last 2 seasons, 3.9 yards per carry. You can't even really root for him anymore. He's just going to catch a pass and then go down right away. There's no competition for him because Kendre Miller he's been in the NFL for 2 years and he's been hurt for 2 years. Maybe Taysom Hill gets some snaps and that'll be fun for a little bit on red zone, but I'm taking the other two.
Yeah, I've been watching some preseason games, and they've been deploying Taysom Hill all over the formation as a fullback, quarterback, tailback, like a running back, like full on running back, tight end. I mean, he's probably going to be out wide at some point too. Are we really surprised if he isn't? Like he's played every single position on this offense, and again, it's Taysom Hill. We're not talking about some freak of nature. I know he's really good and really smart, and I'm not going to lie. Watching him play fullback was actually inspiring. He was getting through the right gaps, making the right lead blocks, and it was actually pretty poetic. I'm not going to lie,
Yeah.
but I have no interest in watching this offense.
Yeah, it's just a watered down product in a watered down city.
Well, I don't think we needed to take the jab at New Orleans there. They've been through enough, but
All right. Well, let's go to another great city down south, Atlanta.
ATL ho. Oh man, what an interesting place Atlanta is. They went 7-10 last year with Desmond Ritter at the helm for most of last year. That was also a very tough team to watch last year. You had Arthur Smith running the show, who just is he historically misused his offensive talent. Drake London, who's the only receiver worth a damn, was only getting like 5, 6, 7 targets a game. Kyle Pitts was virtually non-existent after they spent a top 10 pick on him, however many years ago, 3, 4 at this point. They barely used him. They used the backup tight ends like Jonnu Smith. And then they had Bijan Robinson, who they selected in the top 10, generational talent at running back, it looks like. And they used Tyler Algier for most of the games. So awfully mismanaged team last year. This year, we should see better with Raheem Morris, new head coach at the helm. I'm actually very excited for him to be the head coach here. Think that he's going to be a phenomenal coach. What else is there to say, man? They got all the additions that you could possibly ever want your team to pick up in an offseason. They got yourself a new franchise quarterback, a new franchise pass rusher, a new franchise safety. I mean, it's looking up in Atlanta. I think they've really, as we talked about earlier, set themselves up to have a lot of success this year. And, I think looking at this team, the biggest red flag now for me is, can Kirk Cousins come back healthy and right and play to his best? I mean, I still don't think you're a Kirk Cousins fan. I'm not. I still don't think his best is Super Bowl winning football, but they're going to need that. But like I was saying, the biggest red flag is Kirk Cousins. Can he come back healthy? Even if he doesn't, they got Michael Penix there. So for that reason, I'm pretty in on this Falcons team winning this division.
They haven't, and Matt had a field day with their front office in the last podcast, but they haven't played Penix at all in the preseason, like a single snap. That's so weird. He drafted the guy with a first round pick. He's not injured. It doesn't make any sense.
That's the thing, Brian, is I think it's one of two things. And it's an either an injury to him. That we know that he was banged up at the end of the college football season, but you would think by now he's fine.
Yeah.
Um, and so, if he's fine, why is he not out there? Potentially because he's going to be the guy that has to start week one. That's the other thought that keeps going through my head. Like, I don't know what Kirk Cousins' status is. I feel like it's been pretty under wraps, pretty quiet on how he's doing. Uh, but if you're not going to play Penix in the preseason, maybe that's because he's going to be your starter week one.
Maybe. I don't know. I think you're overthinking that, but
You think I'm overthinking that?
yeah, I don't know. 10.5 wins or they're at 9.5, which is still, it's just a lot. It's a lot of wins for a team that just hasn't won the division since 2016. And I like Kirk Cousins, but I don't know. There's going to be points in this season where the most entertaining thing about the Falcons is that stupid Quavo song that he remade of Lenny Kravitz, I Want to Fly Away. That's going to be played in like every Fox 1 o'clock Falcons game after a touchdown. It's going to get in my head early. It's going to make me hate watching the Falcons even more. Bijan Robinson's cool, and he should get enough carries where he will garner maybe Offensive Player of the Year votes after not playing at all last year. I like the Falcons, but I just can't trust any team from Atlanta.
I mean, fair enough. You got your own points there, but what is there not to trust about, or what don't you like about this offense? I mean, Kirk Cousins, comparative to the rest of the league, can win you football games on Sunday. Um, he's not Mahomes, he's not Josh Allen,
I
he's
like
not
Kirk
Lamar.
Cousins. I
He's not
like Kirk Cousins.
he's not making any of these plays that's gonna go out there and will his team. He's not gonna go out there and will his team to wins. He's done that last year. He did that off of the back of Justin Jefferson. Throw the ball up, go make a play for me. I think that's going to be the MO with Drake London this year. Probably Kyle Pitts if he's used properly. But Bijan Robinson and a great offensive line. I just think that that's going to be extremely fun to see. I mean, last year we were getting like what 15 max touches out of Bijan. That should go up to like 2022.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm I just think that they have a lot of ways that they can hurt you. Um, and if Kirk Cousins or Penix, whoever's at the center of that ship playing quarterback, as long as they can get the ball to these awesome playmakers, I think they're going to be just fine. Because I still have a lot of faith in Drake London, even though he hasn't shown too much through his 2 years. I don't think it's been his fault. I think it's been a lot of the quarterback play and offensive play calling. And I don't think anybody's really doubting the talent that Bijan has. Um, so yeah, I think if they can just properly run this off, like if they could have properly ran their offense last year, they would have had. I think they probably would have had 10 wins.
They're talented. I like Kirk Cousins. I like Bijan, but they're the Falcons.
I'm taking the over. They're winning. They're winning this division. They're winning 10 games. Taking the over.
I think 10's the right number for them. They probably go 10-7. So I guess I'll go on the over.
All right. I guess we already got into the over under, but I'm going to ask you a couple more questions before we close out the Falcons. Who do you think is going to be a more impactful signing, Justin Simmons or Matthew Judon?
Judon.
Okay. I agree. Yeah, that pass rush is lacking a little bit more than their secondary was. Um, as far as fantasy football goes, where are you taking Drake London around the other receivers in his area? He's currently going behind the likes of like Puka Nakua and Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's going in front or around people like Chris Olave and Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel. Where do you rank him in that whole bunch?
I think that's about right. I like him better than Olave. Don't like him better than Ayuk. If Ayuk gets I guess that's why Ayuk's ADP is low because his contract situation, you don't really know. But yeah, he's not. Not better than Puka in terms of fantasy. Yeah, I think that's about right. Take Malik
You're
Neighbors
gonna,
over him.
you're gonna take Malik Neighbors over him?
Malik Neighbors is
How,
going to have a hell of a target share down there in East
how
Rutherford.
are you taking? Let me ask. This is totally off topic, but are you taking Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors?
Marvin Harrison Jr. because of the quarterback.
All right, fair enough. But that is the right answer. So, um,
Listen, I'm not completely diluted. I can have faith in my guys, but I'm not. I'm not completely diluted unless it comes to the West Coast or I guess the NFC South.
and I think this is the most important question that we've asked, honestly, today. Of every piece of analysis question we've asked, this is probably the most important one and most impactful one as far as this division goes. What is the ceiling and the floor for the Falcons? Because everyone has them projected as the number one team in this division, playoff team, could potentially, make a splash and a run, down the stretch late. So, how far do you think they realistically could go? And if things just don't work out for them, is there a chance that they don't win this division? It sounds like you think that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, the ceiling Super Bowl. They're talented enough to go out and win the Super Bowl, and Kirk Cousins is a good enough quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I said it last podcast. I'll say it again. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl behind the back of a very talented team, and the Falcons' defense is not that Ravens' defense, but you don't need an elite quarterback. As much as I love Eli Manning, he was an elite quarterback in the postseason, much better than Kirk Cousins has shown in the postseason. But the regular season, he wasn't. 2011, he had a great year, but 2007, not. Either way, they can win the Super Bowl. The worst case scenario, Kirk Cousins re-injures himself week one. Michael Penix, from not playing anything in the preseason, maybe he's still injured, like you said, is not good. And this team finishes 5-12.
So you think there's a realistic possibility? I mean, it would take both of their quarterbacks getting hurt, but
You said floor, so I'm taking you to the floor.
that's fair. That you're definitely taking me to their floor. 5-win team at their absolute floor. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, and I think when you look at both these quarterbacks, you could feasibly say they could both get injured.
It's definitely a possibility. There's no doubt about it. I guess I'm not as extreme as you is what I would say here. I don't really think there's a world where they finish with 5 wins. I mean, I guess if both of their quarterbacks get hurt and they can't find somebody halfway serviceable to get the ball to the proper people, but I think like Bijan and the O line, they could go old school and just run the ball 30, 40 times a game. They still have Algier, they could win a game doing nothing but that and playing defense. Not that anybody wants to see that. The Jets of last year, but it's a possibility. I don't think they can win the Super Bowl though, and maybe I got to see it on the field first, and that's why I'm saying that. I just got to see it all come together. But I put them up against the Eagles or the Niners in the NFC or the Lions in the NFC, three teams that have gotten better from last year to this year. Roster wise, and then also just like the cohesion. Most of the guys played together with each other last year and the years before that. Kirk Cousins is new, head coach is new. There's just a lot of new pieces in the system. I don't think that even if everything comes together right, I still don't think they can win the Super Bowl. Not in year one.
If everything goes right, they could have the best offense in the NFC, better than all those teams. Bijan Robinson could be the best running back in the NFC if he stays healthy and he gets the touches. Kyle Pitts could be one of the best tight ends in the NFC. If Kirk Cousins has a great year, he's better than Brock Purdy at his best. And Jalen Hurts, like if Jalen Hurts doesn't have a great year, he's just as good as Jalen Hurts, and he could be just as good as Jalen or Jared Goff.
I just think that's a little crazy. I I think let's start with the Niners. I mean, at their absolute best, like if at their absolute best, if you really want to give it to Kirk over Brock, I won't blame you, but it's slight. It's so
That's
slight.
fair, but I still think I would give it to Kirk.
And then Bijan, CMC, you can cancel them out. They're both incredible. I mean, Pitts and Kittle, you got to give that to Kittle. Even if you want to make it slight, you got to give it to Kittle. And
As a
then
receiver, maybe Pitts could be better.
let's
Not
just
as an
let,
entire
let's
tight
let,
end.
let's agree to disagree. I'm gonna get all upset about this because then you're gonna compare Drake London to Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel, and it's just I
That's
don't.
where the argument kind of falls off. But like, if you're just looking at, I don't know, if you run the offense through Bijan Robinson and a complete potential reaching Kyle Pitts, those can be two of the best weapons in the entire NFL.
Okay, but like, how are you going to tell me that that's any better than CMC and George Kittle?
It could be better. There's a way for it to be better.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And that's if the 49ers decide, CMC, Kittle, you guys take the day off. We're just going to give it to Ayuk and Debo because we can do that. I don't know. That's we'll leave it there. I mean, you say your counterpoint, obviously, but for me at least, I just think that all cylinders a go. There are three teams in the NFC that have the roster and the cohesion, the experience together that outweighs Atlanta. That I don't think they can get it done in year one.
Football is a weird game. It's one
Yes, it
game
is.
playoff. Anything could happen.
Absolutely. Just got to get to the dance.
Yep.
It's the Giants' motto.
Yeah, unless it's 2016 or 2021 or 23, whenever they made the playoffs the last 22. 22. 22 was a rough year for me.
I mean, you beat Kirk Cousins in a playoff game.
If that's true. But now the guy that pretty much did that by himself is playing in Philadelphia.
All right. What are we moving on to now, Bry?
You want to hear Kirk's birthday practice playlist? I teased it earlier in the show.
Do I?
I'll be real quick. First, we got The Middle by Jimmy Eat World. It just takes some time. That one. Then we got Move Along, All American Rejects, Holiday, Green Day, Stacy's Mom, All the Small Things, The Anthem by Good Charlotte, Don't Wanna Be, yeah, Don't Wanna Be. And then we got Mr. Brightside, Stereo Hearts by Gym Class Heroes,
Yep.
Best of You, Foo Fighters. Never really liked that song, but I know it's a cult classic. Lifestyle, The Rich and Famous, also Good Charlotte. Sugar, We're Going Down, Fall Out Boy. Dirty Little Secret, All American Rejects. This Love, Maroon 5, which doesn't really feel like a pump up football practice song.
It's a good song. Maroon 5 gets it going.
Yeah, good song. Somebody Told Me by The Killers. Dear Maria, Count Me In. Kryptonite and Ocean Avenue. This sounds like our fraternity house playlist
I
freshman
was
year.
just gonna say that I feel like Kirk Cousins and Boyd would be best friends.
Yeah, shout out
Yeah, that
Boyd. I'm
sounds
sorry.
exactly like the fifth and sixth year college guys that we were hanging out with at 18, 19 years old. Yeah, that's quite the playlist. That just brought me back to college, honestly.
Like, can you imagine? I mean, even Kyle Pitts or like the rookies coming in just listening to that playlist. Their first training camp, like, what the fuck are we doing here?
No, I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but the only person I can see really enjoying this is Jimmy Butler.
I can see that.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, who's winning this division? You going with the Falcons?
It's the Falcons, man. It's the Falcons. The Bucs and the Saints, and I mean they're middle of the pack, lower of the pack. I mean in this division, I guess completely honest, I truly believe all four teams have like a road to win the division, but the Falcons would have to slip up so bad. It's theirs to lose.
Yeah, after everything bad I said about Atlanta and how I don't trust the Falcons, but I also then said they could win the Super Bowl. So I don't know how I feel about the Falcons, but
Clearly.
I do think they win this division. I trust Kirk Cousins. If I had to guess what Matt would give out, I think I would say Saints plus 430, but maybe he'll comment on this video and give out his. or the Bucs. He's probably not going Falcons, but that is the NFC South. All right. Well, since it's just the two of us today, no 4 and 400, but we do have some college football week 0 starting this week. And it's not a great slate, not a big slate, but it is a slate. Football is back, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you saw my tweet on Wednesday, but at 5 o'clock in the morning, it was 55 degrees in DC. Football weather is back. And I am sick of the hot summer weather. I know everybody loves summer, Jack shaking his head at me, but I want hoodie weather. I want just cozy game day, my coffee, pajama pants. I want football weather.
Yeah, yeah, you enjoy that. I'll go to the beach tomorrow.
I guess we'll just run through the schedule real quick. Of course, if you were with us last year, you know we do our roundtables on viewsfromtech400.com every Saturday. Go through the slate, go through our favorite bets. We're not going to do that for week 0 just because it's such a small slate. But starting next week in week 1, the roundtables will be back. The live shows on Saturday on Instagram will be back. A lot of football content to look forward to, so stay tuned. It's been a long summer up in the nosebleeds. We're ready for football again. But Jack, we got 4 games in week 0. Starting off, Florida State traveling to Georgia Tech. 10th ranked Florida State playing at unranked Georgia Tech. Noon, 12 o'clock Eastern, ESPN. Then we have Montana State taking on University of New Mexico.
Brian, that Florida State game, they're not traveling to Georgia Tech. They're traveling to Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, it's in Dublin.
It's in Dublin.
Wow.
Yeah, they're playing. Florida State's playing their opener in Ireland. It's pretty cool.
What's the drinking age over there? Is it 18?
There's no way they have one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if
They pop out of the womb drinking Guinness over there, mate.
I was gonna say, I wonder if they're even allowed to partake in the Guinness, but if it's 18, those kids are gonna be hammered by kickoff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would expect it to be as such. Although, one of the good things about that is you're not getting your average, Florida State student to travel across the pond to Ireland for a game. So maybe you're just getting like alumni and maybe seasoned veterans, if that makes sense. You're not going to really have the same sort of crowd out there. So I don't know if the whole, drunk by noon kickoff is going to be too big of an issue for Ireland.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. I guess that makes it even. They stole a home game from Georgia Tech for a Dublin game. Justice for Atlanta. We just made fun of Atlanta for 15 minutes. Now we got to make fun of them again. Florida State's favored by 10. You have any? Are you back in? I guess you're a Florida State guy, right?
Who knows, baby?
All right. I guess I'll take the. I can't take the over because that's a do-over. And there's no mulligans in betting. But then the Dunder Mifflin.
The Dunder. I mean, the Dunder makes sense. The Dublin under, Ire, Irel over? No.
I think I got to go with the Dunder.
You could do the Dublover. You could do the Dunder, the Dublover.
I don't know. The Office fan in me wants to go Dunder.
Go
And
Dunder.
it kills me because that's our first football game of the year. But 55.5 is also a lot of points. Georgia Tech loves to run the triple option and shit too. So
That is their thing.
yeah, but before I butchered the fact that game was being played overseas, we have Montana State taking on New Mexico, SMU at Nevada, and the classic midnight Eastern time, Delaware State traveling to Hawaii. That's a long flight.
Delaware State traveling out to Hawaii for a midnight game. Electric. That
Rainbow
is week 0 for you.
Rainbow Warriors favored by 39 points in that one.
The Rainbow Warriors?
Yeah, that's Hawaii.
Their name is the Rainbow Warriors?
Yep.
Why did I think it was like the Trojans or something like that? Wow. That's
You-
one of the that's one of the most interesting names in sports.
in Hawaii, you kind of need an interesting name, right? You got to stand out.
Rainbow Warriors. Wow. Wow, I'm mind blown.
Yeah, playing at the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletic Complex in Honolulu. So yeah, that's week 0. I guess I'll throw out this is backed on zero research and complete vibes, but my parlay will be the Dunder, and then I'll take New Mexico at home plus 11. I will go with the SMU Nevada over 56.5. And why not the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors minus 39 at midnight?
Yeah, shit. I'll take Hawaii. I'll take Florida State. I'll take SMU. And that's all I got for you.
All right, well, that was college football week 0. And like we said, the games will start heating up soon. We'll have our roundtables going, our live shows going. A lot of fun stuff coming out this football season. Our content calendar, which we've been working very hard on, is full for the fall. And you guys will start seeing all of that content come out as soon as next Monday. But that's all we have. Jack, was a great show. I know Sunday I will be traveling, so I'll probably be calling in from the phone. Hopefully my connection's good down in the Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. Going there for a bachelor party, so we'll see how that goes. Might be a little drunk calling into the Sunday podcast too. But that was the NFC South.
Awful division.
Awful division, and we will see you guys on Monday.
Sorry, Baker, but it's awful.
Mets won the Austin Hayes trade.